I am going to give you some tips on playing guitar and singing metal at the same time, specifically death metal.
Rush to the grave, every day's the same. Trapped between two worlds, broken destiny.
Now, I'm going to be extremely transparent with you guys. I actually still struggle with doing this, with playing and singing at the same time, but I have come up with a few different methods that I truly believe can help you and that have helped me. So of course I want to share those with you. Now these methods, they can indeed help you just get better at singing and playing at the same time in general. So you can use these tips to learn other people's music. But where this video really shines, where this is really going to help you is writing your own music, playing your own guitar riffs and then making up your own lyrics and singing along to those, because there's some specific techniques that I'm going to share with you as we get more into the video here that's really going to help you write, play, and sing the perfect song for you. Alright, so tip number one, and this is kind of for you extreme newbies, and I think it's just good practice for really anyone. I want you to just pick some very simple chords, and I just want you to make some noise. Losing my mind. Yeah. Okay, so pretty simple. All you're doing is just getting used to doing that at the same time, playing and singing. It doesn't even matter what it is. What we're doing with this tip is just kind of triggering something in our head that, hey, we're supposed to simultaneously be doing something here, brain, singing and playing at the same time. It doesn't really matter if you screw up, because again, you're just kind of making up stuff. Tip number two, and actually I'm going to dive more into the studio, so this next part you hear is going to be a direct signal. So you'll hear all my screw ups and nuances in this too. But next I want you to actually pick a little bit deeper progression here. I want you to play a little more notes than what you just did. And I want you just to come up with just a simple growl and maybe a one-liner lyrics. I just picked like a short line from one of my own songs. But I just want you to pick some kind of melodic progression and singing some kind of lyric line in certain parts. And I want you to get used to fitting those pieces together. So here's the example I'll share with you. Alright, so that was pretty simple for the most part, but the cool thing is that got you from just making noise with your mouth and playing whatever simple chords on guitar to now you're actually playing and singing at the same time. So hopefully you will make up your own riff. I mean, you can use the riff that I played if you want, that's fine. But I do encourage you to make up your own patterns here, and of course make up your own lyric line. Again, I just took those lyrics from a song that I have off one of my albums, but just make up any lyric line you want. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be like the world is gonna die tomorrow or something, death metal-y like that, whatever. The cool thing is, as you're going through these exercises, you may actually find yourself writing more lyrics, and you may even come up with an entire death metal song. Okay, now I want you to move on to something a little bit more complex, okay? And this time I want you to focus on playing more notes, just moving those hands around a little bit more on guitar while singing something vocally. You can throw some growls in there too. I'm going to give you an example to follow right here.
Losing all control, lost to my mind, losing all control.
Now, I said this video is mainly for you writing your own metal songs, death metal songs. So this is where things get really interesting, and I'm gonna kind of get into more of the writing process. One of the things that I do is I tend to write the lyrics that fit the guitar parts, if that makes sense. And this is where you start to really get into being able to play riffs and sing at the same time. You're building up a natural ability right now in practicing the things that I just showed you. You're kind of building up that, that natural talent that you have, and that's going to be different from everybody else. So I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that there are certain parts on the guitar, there are certain riffs that you will write that will fit certain vocal lines that as you develop this talent by going through what we just went through up to this point, you're going to be able to fit riffs and vocal lines together. So I'm going to share an example with you, okay, of one of my own songs called Peaceful War.
Rush to the grave, every day's the same. Trapped between two worlds, broken destiny. The one I always see, the one I can't escape. Lost to my mind, losing all control. Yeah.
So you saw that I was moving my hands around quite a bit on that song, okay? And this is one of the songs that people have reached out to me about. It's like, dude, how do you do that? It's not complex for me, but maybe it's complex for someone else. I don't know, maybe it's not. But my point here is, as I was writing that song, I was writing to cater it to my style of singing death metal and playing death metal. And the two pieces just naturally fit together. Now, of course, I had gone through all the other steps that we had gone through, throughout this video. These are things that I've been doing for a long time to build up the ability to sing and play guitar at the same time. One thing I will say, as you're writing, play the riff kind of slow, not super slow, but not as fast as you normally would. And then try to tie those vocal lines into that riff. Kind of make them fit that riff, okay, as you're playing and writing that song. Now I'm going to share a mistake I made, okay? I'm going to tell you what not to do when you're writing death metal songs. There's a particular part of a song that I put out on my last album. The song is called Wings of Destruction, and for the life of me, I have a hard time playing the verse and singing it at the same time. So I'm going to share my screw up with you, and then I'm going to share how to fix it.
Under siege, upon an ancient empire. Under siege, upon an ancient empire. Invasion, barbarians take control. Yeah.
If someone asked me to play that live right now, I would be totally screwed. And it's not so much that I can't learn how to play and sing that at the same time, but what often happens is when we're writing our songs, we'll write the guitar parts and then we'll just go back and sing that, okay, in a different track as we're recording, not necessarily playing and singing it at the same time, because that's really not how we record anymore. You don't figure out until later that you're like, oh crap, I can't sing and play this at the same time. So as you're writing your songs, try playing and singing them at the same time as you're writing them. Because again, I know a lot of times with metal, we have this cool riff, so we put it down in the studio, then we go back and listen to that riff and then put some lyrics to it. But sometimes we make that mistake of not doing that simultaneously to make sure, hey, if I were to do this live, can I do this? Okay, so that's kind of like a little tip there for writing your music. Make sure you play and sing it at the same time to see if it's something that's, that you can do. Now, I don't believe there's anything that you can't play and sing at the same time as long as you work on it, but it's just better if you just kind of try to make it fit as you're writing it, because that's going to come out more natural. Now, the other thing that I could have done had I listened to my tip that I just gave you, I would have probably done the riffs a little bit differently, and I would have probably maybe even sang the vocals a little bit differently as well, again, so that it fit a little bit better together. Now, as far as learning other people's songs, that's a completely different challenge. I don't want you guys to get discouraged when you're trying to sing and play, let's say, a really difficult Metallica song like Blackened, or you're trying to play, Holy Wars, by Megadeth or something like that. I don't want you guys to get frustrated over that, though, because you have to understand that you didn't write that song. Okay, as artists are writing their own music, they are writing in a way that caters to their own style. And that's just what we talked about earlier. As you're writing, make sure you're writing, lyrics and putting those lyrics into the song, into the riffs that you're writing in a way that they just kind of mesh together, and it really emphasizes your own style. So I just want to tell you that. I don't want you guys to ever get discouraged because you're having a hard time playing and singing someone else's song. And that's why one of the reasons why I encourage people to really kind of find their own style and write their own music. I think that's a big thing. Of course, if you're in a cover band and that's what you decide to do, then, the only answer to that is just practice those specific songs that you're playing. You will get it. You will ultimately get it. And if you had to go back through this video and go through some of these, like sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board, go back to step one, and just kind of start fresh from the beginning and just get used to singing and playing, or making noise and playing guitar at the same time, and then just build back up, go back to those basics. For the album I was talking about, Masterpiece, that's some of the music you heard in this video is from that album. I'll leave a link to that in the description of this YouTube video. I also have CDs for that album as well. There will be a link for those as well. So that's a great way you can support me as an independent musician, and I really appreciate that. Guys, leave me any questions. I truly hope this video helps you guys. Until the next time, keep it metal.